Progress Developer Studio for OpenEdge is an Eclipse-based integrated ABL development environment that helps you quickly build user interfaces and business logic, incorporate and manage application data sources, and run, debug, and deploy OpenEdge ABL applications. This video explains how to set up an ABL development environment, create and import OpenEdge projects, configure the OpenEdge Editor with syntax checking and keyword casing, add existing source files to a project, diagnose and resolve errors using the problems view, clean a project to recompile, configure the PROPATH, compare the OpenEdge Editor and Visual Designer views, and more. 2 sample projects are used in this video to demonstrate the tasks. CustomerApp.zip explains the import functions, and DemoFiles contains the project files used to explain the features of Developer Studio. Let's start the demo. When you start Progress Developer Studio for OpenEdge for the first time, you need to specify a workspace location in the Progress Developer Studio launcher window. A workspace is a folder in your file system where all your development project files reside. Each workspace is used by a single developer. Best practice is to store all project files in the workspace folder. In the Progress Developer Studio launcher window, specify the location for the new workspace. If you want to share the projects and files in your workspace with another developer, you can later export them from the workspace. Once the workspace location is specified, click Launch to view the welcome page. Close the welcome page to view the workspace. The window that appears is the OpenEdge Editor perspective. This perspective consists of a set of views and an editor area used to work on projects. You can customize the workspace by adding and removing views and changing the layout of the perspective. For example, a development team may decide to standardize on specifying ABL keywords in lowercase. To customize how the OpenEdge Editor works in a workspace, open Workspace Preferences and navigate to the Progress OpenEdge Editor settings. To specify lowercase, select lower, and then select both case keywords and apply keyword casing on save. There are several other settings that can be customized. For example, selecting Expand Keywords sets the OpenEdge Editor to automatically expand keywords as you type. Another useful group of settings enables syntax checking features. To use this feature, choose the Build Settings page for the editor. Build settings control what types of files are built and what happens when they are built. These settings customize what happens when ABL code is saved. Select Compile on Save if required. Select all the syntax checking settings and increase the number of errors displayed when the application compiles to 200. Displaying line numbers makes it easier to communicate with other developers and helps when debugging code. To use this setting, navigate to General, Editors in the Preferences window, select Text Editors, and then select Show Line Numbers. Click Apply and Close to save the preferences and close the window. The import feature allows developers to reuse code. To import a project, it must either be available on the file system or exported as a zip file first. To import a project into a workspace, choose Import from the File menu. Navigate to General and choose Existing Projects into Workspace. Click Next. The best way to export and import a project is to use a zip file. To import a zip file, choose Select Archive File and browse to locate the zip file. Select the project archive file to import into the workspace. Click Finish to perform the import. After the import completes, the new project appears in the Project Explorer view. The project has 2 folders, R code, which contains compiled code, and Source, which contains the source code. By default, compiled code known as R code is not displayed since developers typically don't work with these files during project development. However, you can customize which file types are displayed based on the file extension. To see the compiled R code in the Project Explorer, select Filters and Customization and uncheck the filter for files with an R extension. The console view displays a message that an ABL virtual machine AVM has started for this project. An AVM is the compile and runtime environment for ABL code. By default, every OpenEdge project uses its own project-specific AVM. When importing projects, R-code is imported to the R-code folder. There is a chance that different versions of projects will have R-code compatibility issues. To resolve these issues, recompile the application whenever you import a project into a new workspace. Directories and files that have errors are noted by a red X. The Problems view displays workspace messages that are grouped by errors, warnings, and information. Hover over the error to get detailed information about the possible cause of the error. Double-click the error. The file containing the error opens in the ABL editor, highlighting the line that has the error. A red X marker is also displayed on the line. All ABL statements must end with a period. After correcting the error, save the source file. Based on the preferences set earlier, Developer Studio automatically compiles the code. If the error was successfully fixed, the red X no longer appears. The OpenEdge editor can also be customized. To create a new OpenEdge project from scratch, click File, New OpenEdge Project. The new OpenEdge project wizard appears. As an example, give the name of the project as WinForms. If the Server tab is selected, a paths for OpenEdge application can be created with the APSV, Web, or REST transport options. If the Client tab is selected, the application types such as GUI for .NET, App Builder, Character UI, and Web UI can be created. Use the General tab to create OpenEdge Basic, ABL Unit, and Custom Project. Select General, OpenEdge Basic to create a standard OpenEdge ABL application. Click Next. To use separate top-level folders for source and R code, select Use separate source and R code directories in the Project Layout section. Click Finish to create the project. The newly created project appears in the Project Explorer view with top-level folders, R code, and source. You can create subfolders under the source folder to organize your application code. Do not create subfolders under the R code folder. They are created automatically when you compile your code, mirroring the directory structure of the source folder. To add existing source files to a project, use File Explorer to drag and drop files from the Windows file system to the appropriate project folders. Best practice is to copy files into your projects rather than to link them. After adding files to the project, errors may appear in the Problems view. The errors you see when you copy files into your projects could be related to the order in which the files were copied. Best practice is to clean your workspace each time you copy a set of files into your workspace. One way to recompile is by cleaning your workspace, which compiles all code in the workspace. The Project Explorer view helps to navigate quickly within a project. The Outline view provides a quick way to navigate through complex code. In the Project Explorer view, browse to WinForms project to locate runclient.p in the source folder. Double-click runclient.p to open the procedure in the editor. From the Outline view, expand using declarations and variables to locate the list of available declarations and variables in the file. When using the object-oriented ABL, the Outline view displays the structure elements in a class file. For example, from the WinForms project, open the adapter folder in the source folder and then double-click Customer B Service Adapter.cls. Expand using declarations, properties, and methods. Notice that these groupings are different for an ABL class. The properties and methods of the class are displayed. The more complex your class becomes, the more useful the Outline view is for jumping into a specific line of code you may want to edit. You can see that multiple files open in the workspace. Click the link with Editor icon in the Project Explorer. The file currently viewing in the editor is highlighted in the Project Explorer so you can see its context within the folder structure of the project. You can turn off this feature by clicking the link with Editor button again. To focus on a specific area in your code, click the plus or the minus on the left of the code block to expand or collapse the code. The editor uses color coding to represent different elements of an ABL statement. There are different colors for ABL keywords, variable names, ABL data types, as well as constants, which makes it easier to find what you want to edit. You can comment out sections of your code, select the code and right-click the selection. In the menu that appears, select Source and then click Toggle Comment. Code can also be commented out by adding 2 forward slashes at the start of a line. You can use Ctrl// as a keyboard shortcut to toggle between commented and uncommented code. It's important to save your work. The asterisk in the tab reminds that the program was modified, but the changes were not saved. Let's see how the editor helps you while writing code. Open a procedure file and start a new line. type def. When you press the spacebar after the first 3 letters, the ABL editor automatically completes the keyword. If you make a syntax error, immediately the feedback is displayed, because syntax checking for the workspace is enabled. In addition, the marker bar on the right indicates each error in the file. This feature is useful in larger files, since the marker bar shows relative position of each error in the file, and you can go to that line by selecting the marker. Resolve the error and save the file to clear the compile errors in the problem view. To run the code, open getCustomerInfo.cls from the GUI folder and click the Run icon. The Get Customer Info form appears. Click the Get Customer Name button to retrieve the customer name. You can see that an error is displayed. This error occurs because the ABL virtual machine for the WinForms project is unable to find the service interface folder, which is in the CustomerApp project. Typically, when a file or a folder cannot be located, a PROPATH error occurs, which is very common. To fix this error, modify the properties for WinForm project so that the compiled code of the CustomerApp project is available to the client code. To modify the properties, right-click the WinForms project and then click Properties. Alternatively, select WinForms project and press Alt-Enter. In the Properties window, navigate to Progress OpenEdge, then PROPATH, and click the Add Workspace Directory button to add the R code folder of the CustomerApp project to the OpenEdge PROPATH for the WinForms project. The PROPATH error is resolved and the application executes successfully. Developer Studio can also assist in creating new code. To create a new ABL procedure file, right-click the GUI folder and select New ABL Procedure. The new ABL Procedure window appears. Name this as example.p and then click Finish. The newly created file opens in the editor with a basic layout. The WinForms files can be opened in either OpenEdge Editor or OpenEdge Visual Designer. The Visual Designer is used to add controls to a form, and OpenEdge Editor is used to modify ABL code in the form. To use the editor, double-click the getCustomerInfo.cls. To open in Visual Designer, right-click the file and select Open With, and then OpenEdge Visual Designer. Alternatively, to open in Visual Designer view from the editor, right-click anywhere in the file and select Visual Design. Here, you see that the same file is opened in both views. This completes our look at the OpenEdge Getting Started for Progress Developer Studios for OpenEdge. You've seen how to set up an ABL development environment, create and import OpenEdge projects, configure the OpenEdge editor with syntax checking and keyword casing, add existing source files to a project, diagnose and resolve errors using the Problems view, clean a project to recompile, configure the PROPATH, compare the OpenEdge editor and Visual Designer views, and more.